Hello, I'm an amateur musician and I play baritone saxophone in a saxophone quartet. But I also do a bit of arranging for the quartet. I like to take things like choir and piano scores or a cappella choir scores and rearrange them and transpose them for the quartet. And when I do that, I like to play the soprano, alto and tenor parts just to see what they feel like under the fingers for the other three members of the quartet. But I can't do that, of course, without buying 3 more saxophones. So what I've done instead is buy this. This is the Yamaha YDS120 digital saxophone, and it's great. I love it. Ergonomically, it's exactly the same as an acoustic saxophone. All the keys are in the right places, as you would expect from Yamaha. It's got 1 or 2 little issues worthy of mention. The first thing is it's got 4 AAA batteries in here, and it eats them alive. They last no time at all. Why on earth Yamaha didn't put a lithium-ion battery in here, I'll never know, but they didn't. But I get around that by simply having my own little USB power pack. Put that in my pocket and plug it into the charging socket on the instrument, and it'll go all day and all night. The other little issue is the speaker. This internal speaker here is absolutely awful. I mean, it's terrible. Now, to be fair to Yamaha, there's nothing much you can do about that. Just put a silly little 2-inch speaker in here. So what I've done is I've taken my guitar, I play guitar as well, I've taken my guitar transmitter, plugged it into the headphone socket, and I've got the receiver plugged into my guitar amplifier. And now, of course, when I play, it comes to the speakers, which is absolutely fine. So those are the 2 little issues really that I've got an issue with. The nice thing about it is there's a function switch on the back of the saxophone. If you press the function switch and select other keys, you get into the functions of it. And there's a number of functions you can change, you can set up for yourself. I've got them all on default except one, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. But the first function you can change is the amount of breath you need to make a note. I've got that set halfway, and it does fine for me. The next one you can change is dynamics. They call it, I think they call it breath pressure, but it's dynamics. And this instrument responds extremely well to dynamics. I'm set to soprano voice 2 at the moment. More about voices in a minute, but this is soprano voice 2, just to demonstrate the dynamics. So it responds dynamically extremely well, but you can set that up. The next one, and the one that I have had to take off default, is concerned with precision of fingering. On an acoustic saxophone, you've got obviously mechanical linkages between the touch pieces and the tone pads. You've got a little bit of resilience in the pads, and all that is a very forgiving mechanism. So if you're not too precise with your fingering on an acoustic saxophone, it will forgive you. This won't. If your fingering is out by a millisecond between notes, it will give you a grace note. And when I first started playing this, I found I was getting little grace notes every several seconds. So I've cranked mine from the midpoint. It's between 0 and 20. It was default is 10. I've cranked mine up to 12, and that just gives enough leeway for me for my fingering. But of course it's a great practice tool, because if you are concerned about your precision, the precision of your fingering, crank that setting down and this thing will let you know all about it. So it's a good practice tool for that. The next one is tuning. You can set it to A443, A equals 440, whatever you like. And then there's an auto shut off. You can set how long you set it down before it shuts down. And the last one they call it reverb. I call it vibrato. You can actually set up the amount of vibrato you want. You can't control the vibrato though. You can't from your diaphragm or from your throat. This is an example. I'm set on soprano voice 2 at the moment. No vibrato. If I set it to soprano voice 3, it gives me vibrato, but you can't control it. It's set in the instrument. And talking of voices, it has loads of soprano, alto, tenor and baritone voices. I think it's got about 17 alto voices, and each of those voices is like putting a different mouthpiece on an acoustic instrument. You've got rock, jazz, classical, vibrato, no vibrato. So it's great. You can select all those voices to suit how you want to practice or indeed listen to yourself playing. But what does it sound like playing a tune? Well, let's have a look. On the stand here I've got one of our quartet scores. It's for Paul Simon's Still Crazy After All Those Years, and we play this in the quartet. It's a lovely arrangement, and since I'm going to play it, I ought to give it its full accreditation. It's arranged for a saxophone quartet by Philippe Marilia. He's a French saxophone player in the 4x4 quartet in France, and he's got a website, 4r4.com. That's number 4, letter A, number 4.com. And this arrangement and loads of his other arrangements are on that website, and it's highly recommended. So let's see what this saxophone does. Set to soprano voice 3, which is classical with vibrato, and I'm going to play the soprano, just a few bars of the soprano part to Paul Simon's Still Crazy After All These Years, arranged by Philippe Marilia. Here we go. Get this right. Whoa. So, a nice sweet sound, and I think a true enough soprano saxophone sound. And the alto, tenor and baritone voices are very true as well. I mean, I particularly like the baritone voice. Let me see if I can quickly switch it down now a minute. Yeah, baritone voice 5. Well, that happens to be the slap voice, so we'll do that. Baritone voice number 3. It's got a low A key. The other little issue I've got with it, actually, you'd have thought, wouldn't you, that they would have inhibited the low A key for soprano, alto and tenor. They haven't. So you've got the peculiar circumstance where you can play a soprano, saxophone, alto and tenor with a low A, but you know, so be it. So really, it's a very, very useful instrument. Is it a performance instrument? Well, you know, I don't think so. You could stand on stage, I suppose, with the amplifier, pack in your pocket, and play. But I just wouldn't. I don't think it'd be right. But as a rehearsal instrument, as a practice instrument in your music room, brilliant. Just to be able to pick it up, select your voice, and of course it alters pitch. Soprano and tenor played in B flat, alto, baritone in E flat, and the other instruments, it's got harmonica, Japanese flute, Chinese flute, pan pipes. They're all in concert pitch, of course, but I think there are something like 11 slots for personalised voices. You can go load a synth into your PC, plug your PC in there, and you can dump voices into it. And I think there's about 11 of them. So an extremely versatile tool for your practice room. I love it to bits, and I'm using it a lot for my arranging for the quartet. And I'd recommend it to anybody as a practice rehearsal instrument. It's a very valuable addition to my music room. Thanks for watching.